Top 5 cases of delusional behavior. A delusion is a belief that is either mistaken or not substantiated. It is held with a strong feeling and opinion. In psychiatry, delusions occur as the result of mental illness. In most cases, delusional behavior will cause an individual to experience bizarre social interactions. Here we bring you 5 cases of delusional behavior which strictly focus on historical events. Number 5. Starting at number 5 is the case of Martin Bryant. Psychopathy is a disorder that is largely connected with delusions. The word psychopath brings images of danger, insanity and murder. Martin Bryant was born in Tasmania, Australia. He was a disruptive and sometimes violent child. After Bryant was suspended from Newtown Primary School in 1977, psychological assessments noted that he had tortured animals. It was discovered that Bryant had an IQ of 66, equivalent to an 11-year-old and in the bottom 1% of the Australian population. On April 28, 1996, Martin Bryant carried out the Port Arthur Massacre. Martin Bryant was captured alive, charged and convicted of all 35 murders. Number 4. Case number 4 is the Seattle windshield pitting epidemic. Mass hysteria is a phenomenon in which bizarre symptoms are recorded by a large collection of people. It typically begins when an individual becomes ill or delusional during a period of stress. In April of 1954, mass hysteria hit the area surrounding Bellingham and Seattle, Washington, USA. The event is characterized by the widespread observation of previously unnoticed windshield holes, pits and dings. By April 15, 1954, approximately 3,000 windshields had been damaged. Some people reported seeing the glass bubbling right before their eyes, believing it was sand fleas. Other news articles stated the pitting was caused by a Navy radio transmitter, cosmic rays, or a shift in the Earth's magnetic field. Several supernatural causes were also suggested, including gremlins. By April 17, 1954, the pitting suddenly stopped. The Seattle windshield pitting epidemic has become a textbook case of collective delusion. Number 3. At number 3 is Whoo Bumkin. Whoo Bumkin was a South Korean police officer who is responsible for the second most deadly shooting spree in modern history. On April 27, 1982, Whoo had an argument with his girlfriend and became enraged. He was a mentally unstable individual with homicidal impulses. After the argument, Whoo traveled to the police armory and gathered an arsenal of weapons, including 2 M2 carbines, 180 rounds of ammunition, and 7 hand grenades. He got drunk in the police armory and then attacked the citizens of South Korea. Whoo began by shooting at people who were walking in the village of Torongni. He then walked from village to village, killing people. Whoo Bumkin used his public status as a police officer to gain entry into homes. He shot most of his victims, but in one case killed an entire family with a grenade. He continued his killing spree for a grueling 8 hours. He traveled through 5 different villages and murdered a total of 57 people, injuring 35. Whoo eventually committed suicide by exploding 2 grenades. Number 2. At number 2 is the case of the Boyd Massacre. The Boyd Massacre documents one of the bloodiest cases of cannibalism on record. In October of 1809, a 395-ton brigantine convict ship named the Boyd sailed from Sydney Cove to Whangaroa, New Zealand. The vessel was under the command of Captain John Thompson and carried about 70 people. A man named T. Ara, who was the son of a Maori chief from Whangaroa, asked to work his passage on the ship. The Maori are the indigenous Polynesian people of New Zealand. During the voyage, T. Ara was flogged for disciplinary action. Upon returning to Whangaroa, he reported the events to his tribe. In accordance with their customs, the Maori formed a plan of revenge. 3 days after the Boyd's arrival, the Maori invited Captain Thompson to follow their canoes to find suitable kauri trees. After Thompson was lured away from the vessel, the Maori people attacked the European foreigners on land. They killed everyone with clubs and axes. They stripped the victims of clothing and took their bodies to be eaten. Using items taken from the deceased, the Maori organized an attack against the Boyd. They deceived the crew and massacred everyone. Only 5 people were left alive. When news of the massacre reached European settlements, Captain Alexander Berry undertook a rescue mission and recovered 4 survivors. In a terrifying scene, Berry's crew reported large piles of human bones on the shoreline. In March of 1810, a revenge attack was organized by sailors from 5 whaling vessels. The target was a village belonging to the chief Te Pahi, who was not involved with the original crimes. In the revenge attack, 60 Maori and 1 sailor died. Number 1. And at number 1, we have the Anders Behring Breivik case. Anders Behring Breivik is a Norwegian right-wing extremist who has claimed responsibility for the 2 terrorist attacks that occurred in Norway on July 22, 2011. Breivik was born in London on February 13, 1979. Before the attack, Breivik compiled a 1,516-page manifesto entitled 2083, A European Declaration of Independence, which he emailed to 1,003 addresses. He claims to belong to an international anti-Islam network. On July 22nd, Anders conducted the most deadly shooting spree in world history. He performed 2 sequential attacks against the civilian population, the government and a political summer camp in Norway. In all, 76 people were killed in the terrorist activity. Many people survived by playing dead. After the attacks, Anders confessed to the crimes and stated that the purpose of the murder was to save Norway and Western Europe from a Muslim takeover. Ian Stephen, a retired forensic clinical psychologist, said Breivik has understood exactly what he was doing but is clearly a psychopath. Everything he says should be taken as nonsense. On July 25, 2011, Breivik was charged with destroying basic function of society, creating serious fear in the population and acts of terrorism. Prosecutors are considering charging him with crimes against humanity.